Hi, I'm Lawrence.
I'm Nick.
Welcome to the Nick and Lawrence Show.
Alright, so if you have been living under a rock or you just don't follow certain or current movies, then you probably haven't realized that Toy Story 4 just came out. And it's kind of hard to miss. Everybody's been talking about it, and it was kind of surprising to everybody when the first teaser trailer came out because nobody knew. I think they kept it really secret that they were making another Toy Story.
Right.
Everybody thought that it ended at Toy Story 3, and they had the teaser last summer. It's been a while now, actually.
Yeah.
And I remember when I saw it in theater. I don't remember what movie I was seeing, but it was pretty surprising. And
all of a sudden, a very short trailer. I think that of all the toys in them, Forky in the middle, and
it raised a lot of questions and started I guess it started the internet abuzz talking about what the theories were, that like what it was going to be about and all that. But after a long-awaited time period, we finally got it released, and we both saw it. So we thought, what better? Let's talk about Toy Story.
Yep. I think well, Nick and I were talking about, at least what I was thinking is I've seen a lot of other reviews out there, vlogs, and I thought, they're all kind of going the same route of let's rank or let's talk about the original three, and then what we'll do as we go into this is we'll just kind of dive into our thoughts on the fourth Toy Story and the possibility, at least for me, the possibility of maybe a Toy Story 5, but we'll start and build up with the first three Toy Stories, and I brought some really cool toys that I've had for the last 25 years, and brought some of the movies that came out right around the third movie. But we'll start off with Toy Story, and I didn't have a Toy Story VHS tape, but following Toy Story and the Toy Story franchise and saga was a movie called Buzz Lightyear of Star Command: The Adventures Begin, starring Tim Allen. And it starts out the way a normal Toy Story movie would be, and there's pictures on the bottom of the actual toys watching the movie, and then they go into the actual movie and the whole thing. So I think it's the son of Tom Hanks or somebody is doing the voice of Woody in the opening code thing. So it's not, but it's some of the actors like Don Rickles and some of the other people were featured as small cameos, and then it goes into a full more cartoon.
Is it Tim Allen?
It's Tim Allen. Tim Allen does the whole voice from the Pixar version of Buzz into the whole movie about Star Command. So this is a VHS that came out kind of an in-between movie between Toy Story 1 and 2. But liked Toy Story, and then as Toy Story 3 came along, they did special edition movies for Blu-ray of the first movie and then the second movie, and then of course after 9 years ago when the movie did get released on Blu-ray, it was a 4-disc set that I have that includes the old version of a digital disc that you could put into your computer and then put the movie onto your phone or tablet or whatever. So those are some of those movies, and then of course, like I said, I had toys and stuff. So this is the original Woody from Toy Story. He doesn't work anymore. Lost a couple months ago. Kind of lost the little cover that goes to the batteries. So, but still like the toy and stuff. But this, he probably has the catchphrases and stuff.
Yeah.
And so
which is important in Toy Story 4.
Right.
If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
And then of course we have a Woody here, and of course he can actually talk. See,
so that one works
this works, and this one came right out after Toy Story 3, and a little addition that I've added to Woody.
Okay.
And
that looks like an authentic Forky, but
one made by my nephew.
Okay.
So, but of course I did bring Bullseye.
Okay.
And we have, because I was at Disneyland, got a really cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Disneyland cup. Gotta go through this because we want to get to all the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing about Toy Story is it's lasted so long. It's been so popular because the first one came out in 1995, and if you've been to any of the Disney parks, you know that they still have Toy Story attractions like Buzz Lightyear's.
It's like a space game that you can get.
What is it called? Space.
But it's a Star Command
it's like
game.
Space Blasters.
Astro Space Blaster.
Yeah, Astro Space Blaster. Mm-hmm. And that actually, they had that in Disneyland Paris too when I went. Right. And then in Walt Disney World, they just opened Toy Story Land. Right. And so they have a Slinky roller coaster. Right. And I don't know, I think it's cool that they're still... pretty popular, and it's kind of a movie that it doesn't matter how old it is. It's about toys, and
so I think one toy we don't have here that you should pull out is one that he came along to, and we have to. What's a better toy than
of course
Buzz Lightyear?
Right now, poised at the edge of the galaxy, Emperor Sir has been secretly building a weapon with the destructive capacity to annihilate an entire planet. I alone have information that reveals this
there you go. Wings pop out like the. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm impressed. He still works.
I actually have a Mr. Potato Head that was in a picture of mine, and he came along with the Woody and stuff because I got in my bag of stuff. I had a Buzz. I mean, I pretty much have the first toys of the Toy Story series plus these newer ones that even have Andy. My understanding is the newer toys are now they're not as fancy. Well, they're even more fancy than these because
they're more technology.
I think my understanding, I was in the Disney store and they were talking about how the toys actually interact with each other. So if you buy one toy over the other, they can interact with each other. And then of course, because of the third Toy Story movie, they've actually since then updated the foot. So instead of it saying Andy, it says Bonnie.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
yeah, and you ever wonder if the Disney store comes to life at night when people aren't there?
Probably. I mean, after what we've seen out of the movies, it wouldn't be surprising.
Could be.
What happens. I mean, and that's something we could definitely dive into with the fourth movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. Did of the first three? I should ask you. Did you ever have a favorite of the first three?
Well, I never. Up until recently, I don't think I really paid attention to them that much. I liked them. I really got into them last year, maybe a year and a half ago, when I bought all the new ones, or I bought them all new on Blu-ray so I could have the digital copies and then watch them all. Right. And I know that Toy Story 2 and, well, all of them have high ratings, like reviews online. But Toy Story 2 was one of the ones on Rotten Tomatoes that had a 100% score by the critics. And I think out of all the three, my favorite was the first one. Toy Story 2 was good. I liked the story. And Toy Story 3 was okay. For me, it felt like it was a little bit darker. Oh. And it was a different kind of. It was like they were trying to end the story.
I think it all depends on how you look at each one, because I think each one, including the one we'll talk about towards the end, I feel like all of them had their dark moments at times because you had in Toy Story you had Sid.
Yeah, so they had to battle Sid, and then they almost got lost because Andy was moving.
Well, number one. Andy was moving, but Woody was, for the plot line, so in case people haven't followed up on Toy Story, so, you have Woody being jealous of the new toy, which is pretty much Buzz Lightyear.
Right.
If it hadn't been for the jealousy, and, I think based from just the small point is that Woody was jealous, and all he wanted to do was to kind of throw him in the back under the desk of Andy's room and stuff, but he's not being as careful as he'd like to be, and knocks him into the yard, which means that he's now got to, go with Andy, and then he realizes that somehow, some way, I guess no, that's not true. I guess somehow they make their way to Pizza Planet where they find Andy in the process, but then they end up landing in Sid's, and that's where the whole thing goes from there. But I like
Yeah.
Toy Story 2 is my favorite because it really brings into like what we do in our blog where we, I collect all the toys and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I like the segment of the old 1950s kind of a setup, even though Al and Stinky Pete are kind of our villains. Villains. I mean, we kind of got Stinky Pete, who we find out at the very end is a villain, and then Al is kind of like in a way, you've got a human and a toy, both
being the villains,
both being the villains, which I thought was a very unique way too. But I like the old Western. It was really focused about an old past of Woody. They kind of hinted on Buzz in the first movie because it was all the space, and then we got it deeper into Woody's past. And I feel like from Toy Story 2 and going forward, we've really been diving more into,
well, it's always been about Woody. And
it's always been about Woody.
If you go back and watch them again, or think about, if you remember what they were about, Toy Story 1 was kind of the way that Toy Story 1 was how they were all introduced, right? So you kind of got the feeling that they were all equal in one way. Like Andy loved Woody. Woody was Andy's favorite toy at first, and then he got Buzz, so Buzz became his favorite toy, and I think that's something we can all relate to as we got new toys when we were growing up. But then in the second one, it was back to Woody. Now that Woody and Buzz were friends, and Woody kind of took his place again as Andy's favorite toy.
Well,
they kind of shared it, but
as I learned and rewatched the movies and stuff, it was interesting because there's a line that they do when they, I think it's Potato Head and Ham and Slinky are in one of those little Tikes cars or something. They go, and Barbie's kind of taking them on a trip and stuff, and they go down the Buzz Island, and she's like, there wasn't enough dolls to meet demand or something, and it kind of tells you that Buzz Lightyear really didn't become, he can't be as a, passing thing, like kids were like, as I went through, I was like, these toys are based off of, Buzz Lightyear is based off of like the space stuff from the 70s, and Woody's based off of like Howdy Doody from the 1950s and stuff. So, because Woody, when I went looking at, he's a mixture of Howdy Doody and a Casper doll that was made in the 1960s that had a pull string. In fact, I remember actually having a Sesame Street Cookie Monster that was very much like Woody, where you pulled the string and it could and it could talk and stuff. And of course, that over time, after playing it from the time I was 4 until I was like 11 or 12, the thing just stopped, working. And it kind of did like with my first Woody. Did. Yeah,
the one thing I like about Pixar, and yes, this has a Disney name on it, but if you go back and look at Pixar's history with Disney, the one thing I like about these movies is they're Pixar movies, and they're Disney movies, but if you know the history of Disney and Pixar, Disney came in and kind of gave them the funding, so they wanted their name on these movies, and they gave them the funding kind of for their animation, and they combined the companies, down the road. Disney bought Pixar eventually, but these are Pixar animation movies, and so you have that Pixar touch, and Disney animation is different. You'll see that there's different creatives, maybe not so much now, but I think Pixar's still separate enough that you can tell the difference in the storytelling, because like for Disney, you have Frozen and Tangled and the newer movies,
and it really is confusing because it's like, I'm trying to think, I guess Princess and the Frog was the, not to get off too much of the Toy Story topic, but Princess and the Frog was definitely, I think, the last, when I went through movies and stuff, I was like, wow, this was the last animated movie done by... Hand-drawn. I mean, I thought that they had stopped with a movie called Home on the Range, which was like years ago, which I didn't realize existed, but I guess Princess and the Frog was the last Disney hand-drawn animation that they've done in over 10 years. And so it's really confusing when you see Moana and think, was it, because it's so, Frozen and Moana are two Disney movies that are so similar to the Pixar movies in style that it gets confusing. So I thought, it's Moana, because I was just at Disneyland, I went for a more sporadic trip, wasn't planning on it, but then I had to go back and was like, okay, was Moana Pixar or not?
Well, the reason why I brought up that these are Pixar movies is they just are really good at storytelling. And if you compare all three, and we'll get into the fourth one, but if you compare all three to each other, they really have they kind of build upon each other. So
Right.
the first one, they all worked, at least in my opinion, they all worked well together. So the first
Right.
one established all the characters. And so, since this was in 1995, it's amazing that it was computer generated, computer animated. But you have everybody introduced, and you kind of get the relationships all built and their backstories and who they are to Andy. And like, you have Andy's life, and you have his mom and the dog and Molly,
Right.
his sister, and the next door neighbor, and everybody that's kind of in that neighborhood. And then the whole plot of the movie is they're moving.
Right.
So, Andy's family's moving, and the toys don't want to get left behind. And then Buzz gets introduced, and Woody feels out of place. And so you know the story if you've seen it. And then Toy Story 2, they're settled in their new house, and
Right.
they're all kind of working together well. They have their system now that Buzz is part of the team, part of the family, and then Mrs. Potato Head
Right.
is also part of the family, and you have some new characters. But Toy Story 2 really gives us Andy or Woody's backstory, and then also Jesse and kind of where Woody came from,
And Bullseye.
and Bullseye. So all of the
Woody's Roundup.
Woody's
kid.
Roundup characters. And then Toy Story 3 is all new characters, and it's kind of, I like the way that they progressed like you would as a child growing up with toys.
Right.
You start with your favorite toys, you get a new favorite toy, you grow up, you grow out of them. Like in the second
Yeah.
Toy Story, they get put down at the yard sale, and
Right.
then they become more like collectors looking for them. And then Toy Story 3, Andy's going to college, and
Yeah.
so they end up at the at the daycare,
Yeah.
and they end up with Bonnie, and then they get a new lease on life now that Andy is grown up, and now Bonnie is their kid. So I just like the way that each movie builds upon the other one. And if we want to jump right into Toy Story 4,
Probably
I
should.
like the way that they, even though we weren't expecting it, I like the way that they did it. I like the
Yeah.
story that they told.
Right.
I know a lot of people that have watched reviews or heard people talking about it. They still will consider Toy Story 3 as the last Toy Story, and even some people have said, I'm not even going to see Toy Story 4 because Toy Story 3 was the last one for me. And I don't know. I think that's kind of, I don't know. You're losing out, in my opinion.
Right.
Like, you're missing out on a really good movie. And for me, Toy Story 4 was a really good movie.
Yeah. See, I actually had, and at first, we'd seen the trailers, we'd done our reaction back in April and stuff. But the thing that was interesting was I had gone and so I go on this little trip to Disneyland, totally spontaneous. Yeah, there's the word spontaneous.
Yeah.
No, and it was just so last minute, and then I get there and somebody calls me and says, hey, by the way, they're showing part of Toy Story 4, and I was debating, I was like, do I see it now, or do I wait until the actual opening day? I was like, well, you know what, half of the people I know, or half of the vloggers out there are going to go and see it anyway before it comes out to the theater for the general public.
Yeah.
So I went and actually saw the first 10 minutes in 3D, and then it inspired me to actually go and see it in 3D. And then, of course, after that, in the same opening day weekend, went and saw it with my nephews. So it was.
Didn't you see it yesterday too?
No, we ended up seeing it on Sundays.
Oh, okay.
So we had to bump it out because my nephew had some things to do
Got it.
during the week. He had summer camp and all that.
So did your nephew like it?
He liked it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, my nephew and I, we were and I should go back to this one toy that is actually handmade by him, because, when we saw the trailers, he got really excited for this. So this was a birthday present for me back in April.
Oh, he made that for
and
you?
he made me this little forky out of a spoon, and we kept constantly saying our favorite line, that was in the trailer that wasn't really a spoiler, but it was also in the movie, which was, "I was made for soup, salad, maybe chili, and then the trash. Freedom." And, it kept repeating over and over every time we saw the trailer. So it was like, well, that's, if you hadn't seen the trailer and you hadn't seen our reaction to that and stuff, and then watching it actually be in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's where I say, you know, when you have a line like that, you can't really go and have it be a spoiler because you already know it's going to be in the movie. So I was really grateful that that was my favorite, you know, thing. I think there's a lot of things about the movie. And I don't know, did you happen to stay through the whole movie to the end credits, or did you just say, I'm getting up and I'm? It's
of course,
you know, because a lot of people I saw, at least from what I saw, were like, you know, I'm thinking, okay, everybody's going to stay. And the problem is that I saw a lot of people who left because I went and saw the first time around by myself. I was able to tell my nephew and say, hey, there's a really great scene at the very end of the movie. And one of my favorite things about Pixar in general is when the bouncing ball comes either at the beginning or the end and hits on the little lamp as it goes up and down. And the ending, for those who left the theater too early, I think we can probably safely say that there is a spoiler at the very end that people probably wouldn't have expected, because I haven't seen any reviews or anything about this, but that was well, I guess I'll just say it, just in case you're watching this in the near future, and that is you have Duke Kaboom, I think that's his name, Duke Kaboom, and you have a combat Carl at the very end of the movie. You know, he goes and rides up and hits on the lamp, and then combat Carl comes from behind the little letter P in the Pixar thing at the very end of the movie, at the end of the end credits. I also thought it was nice that they paid tribute to Don Rickles, who was Mr. Potato Head, and that was a nice tribute as well. So I always say, you know, if you have small kids or something, go back, see the movie, catch the ending. Yeah. But I really liked Toy Story 4. I mean, and like I said earlier, you know, for me at least, because of how they ended the movie, I'm really looking forward to either a TV special, or, you know, maybe there will be in 20 years from now, there'll be somebody, because there's like we've talked about in other things, that they're always rebooting and they're always remaking, even if some of the movies that we've seen aren't as good. I keep thinking, because of this Toy Story franchise and what I've been hearing, and I talked to some Disney employees at the Disney store and stuff, and they're like, we wouldn't be surprised if somebody else, not John Lasseter who created the original Toy Story, but somebody else comes along, and, you know, we hear more of Woody's background and everything, and, you know, see where he's going to go as the movies progress.
I could almost guarantee that Toy Story 4 is the last full feature Toy Story that'll come out in theaters. Just for the respect of the movie and the way that they ended Toy Story 4, the way that the storyline in general, where it started from and where it went, and how they ended the movie. They won't make another one, and if they're smart, they won't make another one. And Pixar's pretty smart, so this was, you know, people thought it wasn't necessary. People thought that they didn't expect it. They thought that Toy Story 3 was the last one, but the way that they did this, they kind of wrapped it up pretty well with Toy Story 4, and I actually consider Toy Story 4 to be the last Toy Story, and a lot of people are saying, oh, Toy Story 3. But if you think about it, Toy Story 3 was it was the last of their life with Andy. But it was the first movie of their life with Bonnie. And Toy Story 4 kind of goes into that more, so they're continuing with their life as Bonnie. And the reason why I say I don't think they'll make another one is because they didn't really focus on Bonnie as much as they did kind of the toys' lives and their stories and where their future was headed. And I won't give away spoilers, but the direction they took and the lack of screen time that some of the characters had, it was definitely hey, if this is, you know, if you're wondering where the toys have been, you know, since they joined Bonnie's life, and what does the future look like for them, I think those get answered in Toy Story 4, and I think that's why it's a great wrap up to. And I don't know why they chose to do it. I don't know if they had people that commented over the years saying, hey, are you gonna make another one with what the toys are doing now with Bonnie, or, you know, maybe people felt like, or maybe Pixar felt like Woody's story wasn't quite final yet, and I don't know. Or maybe the actors really petitioned to do it again, for
Right.
one last time, like Tim Allen and Wood,
So
and Tom Hanks, and I thought it was cool though that they brought in Keanu Reeves as Duke Kaboom, and
we got our. Let's see, who was he in the Bill and Ted? Keanu Reeves was in Bill and Ted, but I can't remember which one.
he was one of the two.
He was one of the
He
two.
was Bill or Ted. Yeah. Yeah, so I liked it. I think Toy Story 4 is probably one of my favorites out of the series, and I think they all have something special for each of them.
Right.
I like that they all tell a different story, but it's almost like when you're reading books when you're younger, like a novel series. It could be anything like Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys or Boxcar Kids or even Goosebumps, like scary movies or scary books. You read one and then you wanted to read the next one and you wanted to read the next one because they kind of left off at the end with leaving you with anticipation for what the continuation was going to be, and I think they did that well with this. But I think that they wrapped it up pretty good at the end of Toy Story 4, and I think it's on to the next thing. To go off different direction from Toy Story, but Pixar is coming out with 2 original stories next year. And so they've got one that has a full trailer already, which is Onward, and then they teased one very briefly that they're calling Soul.
I mean, some of the Pixar movies do play out by themselves,
Yeah.
and I think the only one that has franchised well out of all the Pixars is what we've been talking about, which has been.
Well, yeah.
Toy
If you think
Story.
back, if you go look and see what the ratings are of all the Pixar movies, they're all pretty high. For like across the board for the most part, they all got really good reviews. And I think that's because they have like this Pixar formula, where they really know how to put these movies together and listen to the audience, to what people want to watch. But like if you go back and think about some of the movies like Bug's Life, I don't think they need to make a Bug's Life 2. That especially since that was like 1998, so that was a long time ago.
It's funny that you bring up Bug's Life because when they do these funny animation outtakes on Toy Story 2,
one of the end credit scenes.
The end credit scenes and the 2 bugs from that movie are like, "Oh, I'm so happy we're making a Bug's Life 2," and they're like, and I think it's the caterpillar that says, "I'm sorry to tell you, but this isn't a Bug's Life 2, and it's really Toy Story 2."
Yeah.
But
I know that was funny. Yeah.
Now I found in Toy Story 4 there was a lot of cool like vintage, like different little like watching Toy Story 4. I found a lot of old Pixar clips from all of the movies and stuff. There's a character that came out right as Pixar was forming, and there's like a little Tin Man character from one of the early Pixar animations, and he makes a connection with Woody and Toy Story 4. Now, I felt like there was so many good scenes and stuff in the movie. I liked the very beginning, and what I saw, because I saw it 3 times in a row, was that first 10 minutes was like my favorite part, and flashbacking to Molly and Andy's room. I don't think we really saw too much of Andy. I feel like we did. I feel like people, who asked for Andy to come back, at least, he came back for the 4th movie, and
in flashbacks.
And then we saw as the college, thing, and then as I watched reviews and vlogs and other things, was just the surprise that it totally made sense where they were going with Bonnie and Woody, but there are times that I wonder, if I were writing my own story, I would have been like, maybe Woody, when I think about the 3rd movie and how the beginning of the 4th movie goes, is that I feel like if I was writing the movie out, I'd probably write it to say, Woody needs to have the courage and stick with Andy, because Andy in the 3rd movie did not want to, part with him. That was all based on, Woody writes a note and he goes and climbs in the box, and so I felt like Woody made some decisions that he could have stayed with Andy for a lot longer, but then it's probably better to learn to say, the toy has to let go and stuff. But I thought it was pretty cool to see how they went went with that.
We could keep talking.
We could
but,
keep going, but we're out of time.
Yeah, we're out of time. So let us know what you thought of the movie if you saw it. If you haven't seen it, let us know if you're going to see it down in the comments below. And until next time,
I'm Lawrence.
I'm Nick.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya. There's a snake in my boots.